To tackle some of these issues, we are now joined by the Spanish ambassador to South Africa, His Excellency Juan Cel, as well as Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who is the ANC's Treasurer General. Gentlemen, good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Let me start with you, Ambassador. Tell us about how Spain managed to get its house in order after that very dramatic financial downturn during the 2008 financial meltdown.
Well, let me start by saying on Greece that we very much hope that a solution will be found. For that, I think both parties would have to give, and that's how Europe has always worked, and I hope that it will also work this time. Now, in Spain, there was and there is a big difference with Greece. In fact, Spain was never bailed out by the Troika. It's true that we needed support for our financial system. And since then, we're talking 2012, we embarked in a series of reforms that has made us now lead the EU in terms of growth and job creation.
Well, what kind of reforms were those? Because we hear the Greeks are lamenting about the austerity measures that were imposed on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, in our case, those measures that also included a lot of austerity and fiscal responsibility were decided by the government itself, not imposed by anyone. But we do recognize that came at a lot of pain for the Spanish population that is still suffering of unemployment, but somehow the things are turning and growth is back, jobs are back, and we are looking at the future with optimism.
If you were to draw the parallels between Greece and Spain, looking at the Syriza as well as the Podemos, who were actually anti-austerity movement, how do you think this is making both of them achieve their cause and making it to be right? Well,
Syriza is in the government of Greece. Podemos is of course a new and relevant party in Spain that did very well on the local elections, but it still remains to be seen what support they would have in our general elections by the end of the year. And of course, whatever the Spanish people decide, it would be fine. Now, I always like to point out that in the case of Spain, we don't have in our political system parties that are extreme right somehow, as in other countries in Europe, nor, and it is very interesting, anti-European countries. Somehow, when we have tried to find who was to blame for the situation in the country, we blamed ourselves. That's, I think it's a very good starting point for the recovery. I mean, you don't have to look necessarily outside your borders to see who is imposing what, but really decide amongst ourselves what the country needs to improve and to move forward. That's what we've done, and that has made our situation very optimistic at the moment. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Mkhize, the situation being optimistic as it is, as the Honorable Ambassador has already told us, South Africa's relations with Spain at the moment, what areas are you looking at doing trade links with a country which once had a turmoil and being in the economic quagmire in the past?
It's actually quite interesting because I recall a few years back, during World Cup, this thing arose, and then it was an issue that was discussed, and everybody was a bit concerned, especially because there were a number of programs that were looked at that were going to be taking place. But once that situation arose, it became clear that the country was going through difficulties. Today, Spain is in a very different place altogether. Right now, Spanish companies are the leading investors in renewable energy, in solar, in wind, in manufacturing of various components and equipment, particularly in the Northern Cape and Western Cape. And therefore, what we have today, we've got a whole program that is probably an investment of close to just under 200 billion rand, wherein Spain is a major player. And therefore, right now, we're hosting a delegation with courtesy to the ambassador, a delegation of Spanish companies that have come to South Africa. and they have come to create partnership, to create cooperation with Southern African companies, because they are not just dealing with only South Africa, they're dealing with Mozambique, they're dealing with Malawi, Zimbabwe, and so on. But what we are finding is that the most successful program in the renewables is actually driven by those companies in Uppington, in Priska, and different parts of Northern Cape. In fact, the communities, the towns are being rebuilt, the area is growing. And so we believe that it's one of the very important traders with South Africa. It's moved up to a point where Spain now is fifth largest international investor in South Africa.
Let's bring in the scenario where when Spain had financial problems as the effect of the financial meltdown in 2009. How were the bilateral relations by then?
The relations have always been good, but at that time the level of investment had not really taken place to the extent that it is now. In the past, I think in the past 4 or 5 years, what has happened, the trade levels have grown up, 3 times, and investment has gone about, 2 times, which basically means there's a lot of technology transfer. There are centers of innovation and technology training which have been established by the Spanish companies, and for us, it's a huge improvement. And it's actually with these companies that are here today, there's a possibility that this relationship is going to even stronger levels of trade and investment.
Ambassador, let me bring you back in. You are saying that the economy has turned the corner in Spain, but with high levels of unemployment, the statistics at 49%. Is that really the real situation?
Well, no. I mean, we don't have unemployment of 49%. I mean, perhaps we are referring at a certain age group. As always with unemployment hits more strongly youngsters that have difficulties to find their first employment. But you asked me before, how did we turn the tide? And there was a major element there, which was the contribution of the foreign sector. Because we always had, and we made good use of it, very performant companies in different sectors. And as the Treasurer General mentioned, one of those is, for instance, renewable energy. So what happened in Spain is that the contribution of exports and foreign investment to the economy grew dramatically, and that helped us a lot out of the crisis. Now, I would like to build on what the Treasurer General has said. And this is a fact that is not always known by South Africans themselves, we are a major and a leading investor in this country. And it's true, and he already mentioned, that this boost has been produced in the very last years. And there is a major, there was always a significant investment in the country. I could mention Columbus Steel in Middelburg or silicon smelters in Polokwane. But there is a driver for this new investment, which has been the South African Renewable Energy Program that has been set, and this is according to us, but according to all observers, run in a very transparent and efficient way. And we've been very successful, and this makes that we have now a stock of investment, which makes us, as the TG said, well, the 3rd European investor in the country in the last years.
Well, just before you go, many people would say that Greece should be learning something from Spain so that they cannot be able to fall, as many people are looking at Greece perhaps exiting the Eurozone. What is it that they should learn from you? If you were sitting with Alexis Tsipras at the moment, what would you advise him?
Well, I'm the ambassador of Spain, and ambassadors are very prudent when giving advice. What we can say is what we've done. And on the one hand, you had a government that understood. We were lucky, I think, that we had a brand new government that had the time to implement policies and take measures. And I think that, people would agree more or less with the decisions that were taken, but they were determined. So they had a plan, and they have implemented those reforms. And that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, we always had a performing economy. I mean, the firms that were there, the innovation were there, the people were there. So, but we had this huge international and local and national crisis. So with the reforms, we allowed all that talent and capabilities play the role and make the economy grow again.
All right, then going forward, perhaps what would you advise South Africa? Because when we spoke to analysts even yesterday, they were saying they don't see South Africa going to the situation of Greece as is at the moment. So what would your advice be? I see that you are in talks already discussing various economic projects. Just very briefly before you go.
No, I mean, as an ambassador to South Africa, even less advice. I think that this country has a huge potential. And when you have that potential, the one way or the other, that will come out. And we have organized this investment forum to bring our companies, and they have come in numbers that show that they believe in this country.
I need to give Dr. Mkhize a closing argument. The issue of the South African economy being sluggish at the moment, how do you think this deals with Greece, rather with Spain, would enhance the economic performance?
Well, as it is now, of the investment that's going on in the Northern Cape, it has already created 17.5 thousand jobs. I've spoken to a number of these investors, young people. They've said to me they are bringing their families to settle in South Africa. What we need is to project South Africa so that the whole world should know it remains a very stable country. It's got a very stable financial and commercial institution. It will be able to secure any form of investment. If we promote that, everyone will be able to see that South Africa will grow. And if we work together, private sector, government, political leaders, working together, will be able to make a difference.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for being with us on PM News.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I've been having a discussion there with Spanish Ambassador to South Africa, His Excellency Sanz, as well as Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who is the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, right on PM News.